Well, thank you all for being here today. My name's Katie Richards. I'm a senior reporter with Glossy, and I'm going to give a quick introduction. So to my left, I have Shoshannah, the VP of Brand Partnerships at Betches Media. To my right, I have Carrie, Media Director at Mekanism, and then we have Jeff, the CMO of the Wine Group. Quick thing, if you do have any questions, we'll be holding a quick Q&A at the very end, so please submit questions via Slido, and we'll get to those at the end. All right, so let's use this.
Technology.
Or not. Anyone?
Let's see. Does the clicker work? Testing.
Hey,
there we go.
there it is. All right. So from boxes of crayons to boxed wine, let's dive in. Here's a quick little, hey, it's all us. Great. So I'm going to hand it over to Shoshannah. She's going to give a quick background on Betches Media and how this whole thing came to be.
Sure. So Betches Media is truly a multi-destination platform for people who are interested in entertainment and lifestyle. We really like to lean into our tone of voice, right? And that really kind of sets us apart from anybody else. We are open, we are honest, we are unapologetic in everything that we do. And I really want to tell you guys a little bit about how this company started, because I think it ties really nicely into this discussion here. So we have Samantha Fishbein, we have Aileen Cooperman, and Jordana Abraham, and they were childhood friends. They carried their friendship on all the way to college. And it was their senior year at Cornell in 2011 when Betches was actually started. They started writing this WordPress blog, and it was Betches Love This. And they wrote listicles, they wrote articles. It quickly went viral. People started to figure out who they were. Simon Schuster approached them because they loved their tone of voice. Fast forward, New York Times bestselling authors. We have 3 books under our belt. They did get on Instagram early, and that's sort of how a lot of you guys know of us. Who follows Betches on Instagram? Woo! Awesome. Well, I do want to tell you guys it isn't just the Instagram. While we were on there early, we of course have the website. We have our shop destination as well, and we really evolved the brand, and that's why we had this conversation started with Franzia. We kind of took that shift into podcasts as well. So we have 10 podcasts. We're a full podcast network. And out of that podcast, we really started to form these individual verticals. So, it's You Up, focusing on dating and relationships. It's Diet Starts Tomorrow with health and wellness. It's Betches Sup. We're talking about news and activism. And through these pillars, we really kind of had a new 360 approach, which was also really appealing to Franzia. So it's through podcasts, it's through social, it's through live experiential events as well. And yeah, we kind of have a very unique position in the marketplace that got us noticed by these guys over here.
Cool. Well, let's hop into the next slide then. Oh, I think I went too far. Yep, sorry. Great, so I'm gonna turn it over to Jeff. Tell me a little bit about, Franzia, the brand, and I guess you guys hadn't advertised very much for the brand in a while. So what was the decision to kind of focus on that brand?
35 years. Let me back up a little bit. I run the marketing group for a private management-owned wine company, the Wine Group in Northern California. And Franzia has been a cornerstone brand for our company since its inception. Actually, the Franzia brand is about 100 years old. And there's a really interesting story that I can't go deep on today, but dating back to the inception of Franzia, where a woman, Teresa Franzia, was a mail-order bride from Italy. And when her husband went away on his first business trip, she went to the bank and somehow figured out how to secure a loan for $10,000 at the time. And she gave $5,000 to her 3 sons, the Franzia brothers, and she gave $5,000 as a loan to a fellow by the name of Ernest Gallo. And she basically spawned the E&J Gallo Winery and our company, which now makes up today about 40% of the wine business. So we're about 100 years old from a Franzia perspective. In 1983, there was a leveraged buyout, and Franzia was part of that when our company got started. And our founder, who was a very entrepreneurial, innovative guy, knew that he was not going to be able to compete in traditional glass. And he decided to go into this thing called bag and box and developed a 5-liter boxed wine. And 25 years later, 25 years at #1 in the world. We do about 25 million 9-liter cases of wine, which is a lot. And really the challenge for us as I came into the company was figuring out how we make sure for the next 25 years that Franzia remains in its #1 position. We don't want to lose that. We hadn't spent any money on Franzia. It was interesting when I came in and talked to the CEO. The CEO talked a lot about how the vision for Franzia was more investing in the wine, the quality of the wine. So investing in the wine and packaging, and that's it. And it had a great run. And so there really wasn't the need at the time to do anything until we said, if we want to make sure that this is going to be number one for the next 25 years, we're going to have to think about it a little bit differently.
Okay. And so then how did Mekanism come on board with this?
So Franzia had some new things that were going on. You released the Tetras this year, which are like the individual sizes. Some new flavors were coming out. You had the brand new packaging, which is more bold and innovative looking. So that was part of the reason that they came to us. And also, we had been working with some of the other Wine Group brands. We also work with Cupcake Wine and Chloe Wine, which is part of the Wine Group. So I think it was just a natural progression. And as we were thinking about Franzia, we're like, this is a very unique challenge that Franzia has. Like, most wines are trying to get millennials, and Franzia already has them. Franzia has this very unique issue where, as millennials or young adults who are leaving college and starting their adult life, they feel the need to transition to bottled wine and move away from the boxed wine that they've been drinking throughout their college years. So we worked really closely with the Wine Group, Jeff and his team, to think about how do we approach this unique challenge. So some of the things, and I don't know if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, sure.
By the way, the side story to that is we started doing business with Mekanism, and they had some really smart work on two brands, Cupcake Vineyards and Chloe, the Chloe Wine Collection. When we went to them on Franzia, they came back with a really smart idea. And I knew that we were in when my CEO, who's an operations guy, he hates advertising. It's to the point now when we're presenting advertising, he usually is like, I don't get it because it talked to millennial and I'm not millennial, you guys figure it out. And so after they pitched this idea, I was headed to the restroom, I came back. My CEO was taking our CFO, Chief Financial Officer, through the board that Mekanism had just presented. And this guy isn't an advertising guy, and I knew, right, we're in.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really amazing thing, and it's been such a fun brand. And as you think about, and I think it's easy to see as we talk about Franzia how we found Betches. I actually had reached out to Shoshannah on LinkedIn because I saw that they started doing some branded content. So we had a conversation probably 4 months before we even landed on the final idea. And Betches does such an amazing job of leaning into adulting and creating content that really speaks to you and your friends. It's very memeable, it's very shareable. There's so many times I go to Betches' Instagram feed and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me and my friends. And I share it to them. I share it with them and we have a big laugh about it. And Franzia is the exact same way as a brand. It brings people, it's more than just a wine that can transition with you on adulting moments. It's something that you and your friends can gather around. It creates friendship opportunities. And that is really the whole purpose of our partnership and the spot that we're going to show you that our creative team out in San Francisco built.
Cool. And I'm pretty sure everyone here should know what adulting is, but just in case, can we get like a little breakdown? We have a nice little chart here for you, but anyone want to give a quick breakdown of what we're talking about when we're saying adulting?
Yeah, so I mean, adulting, I'm sure we've all heard this buzzword. It's that weird time in your life when you're going from being an adolescent who doesn't really have a lot of responsibilities to, when you first graduate college and you're getting your first job, and it's a really tumultuous yet exciting time. So it could be, you're going from frat parties to starting to have to attend office parties, or buying your first studio. You're going from tailgates to career mixers. Maybe you're coming to Adweek for the first time. So that's kind of what adulting is. It's holding on to the nostalgia of your youth and trying to bring that into your adulthood. And that is really what we are trying to do with this campaign and with this partnership, is show that Franzia is a brand that can transition with you and that really makes sense as a transitional product in your life.
Great. And so from there, we get the campaign, Franz for Life. Anyone have any specific thoughts that they wanted to touch on with this? We have 40% of millennials believe their friends are more like their family than their family. So where did that come from, and how is that kind of setting the scene for the campaign?
Even before we get there, let me set the context for setting up the problem with Mekanism. So it's interesting from a brand standpoint. we were number one for a long, long time. There wasn't a major problem that we were dealing with, which was great. And so, and as well, when we went to Mekanism, they came back and said, not many people bring us opportunities like this where there's not a dire problem that you need to solve for overnight. So the starting point was we were in a pretty good place with Franzia. We were taking share in a category. This is popular wine, so it's the lower price, call it below $5, a segment of the category that has been declining for the last 15 years. And premium wine, north of that, has been growing. As part of that, Franzia has been taking share, and so our business was still pretty good. The issue, the challenge that we were dealing with, and there are a lot of brands out there that are trying to figure out how to bring millennials in. We don't have that problem. By the way, I'm not proud of a lot of that because we're getting some kids that come in from college, and so that's not something that we're about. But we took a look from a brand standpoint and saw that we've got young adults coming into the brand in a really good way, and we're not spending any money trying to go after them. And then we took a look at consumption patterns and noticed that there's a dip. So once you get past 25 or 26 years old, you see a dip in terms of consumption, and then it swings back. And by the time folks are Gen X and Boomers, we get folks back into our brand. And so the problem for us is, boy, this is kind of working, but if we could just figure out how to smooth that curve, think about what it could do for our business, right? But you have to think about the mindset. You have folks in college or after college that are drinking Franzia. Why? Because Franzia's been the brand that's been about value, right? It's wine with a purpose. It's good wine for the price point and a good package, and that's it. And I think folks are getting to the 25 or 26, they're starting to think about adulting, and they need to be grown up, and they need to be spending more money on wine, and they need wine in a bottle, right? So they're moving off until they come back to it. And so the challenge for Mekanism was really help us to solve for thinking about how to talk, how to develop a relationship with that group of consumers so that they don't just push us off.
Yep, and as an answer to that, we came up with the Franz for Life campaign, which is designed to show you through our video content and our partnerships with people like Betches, with partners like Betches, that Franzia is a brand that can transition with you. It's something you can feel good about. It's something that you can cling on to and really rally around. So we're going to show you our spot, and it's got a really fun song that I think will probably be in your head for the rest of the day.
All right,
So
let's do it. Do I have to click twice? Thank you.
Thank you for being a Franz.
Travel down the road and back again.
Your heart is true.
You're a pal and a confidant.
Ba, ba, ba.
If you threw a party,
Invited everyone you knew.
You would see the biggest gift would be from me.
and the card attached would say,
Thank you for being a Franz.
I wanna thank you.
Thank you for being a Franz.
I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. Ba, 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 ba.
We shot in South Africa, and I heard that song probably 700 times, and I still like the song.
It's very catchy. So walk us through what we just saw there. What was kind of the idea, and how did you go ahead and execute that campaign?
So I can't take much credit for the actual execution because I am the media director. It was really our brilliant team in San Francisco, Matt Stafford, Jen Miller, who really concepted all of this in conjunction with the Wine Group team. But really what we're trying to show is real life moments that resonate as you're transitioning from being an adolescent to an adult. So we had this 60-second spot. We also had some 50-second cut downs that focused on the different elements and the different situations, whether it was the man bun, having to get a haircut for your first job, having a adult party for your dog's birthday party as an excuse for all your friends to get together, watching somebody try to be healthy and run in a marathon, but you've got your friends on the sideline handing you a box of Franzia instead of handing you a bottle of water. So just lots of different situations. And I think that kind of leads nicely into why we partnered with Betches and why media companies and media agencies and brands partner with other content creators. It's to help further that story and drive even deeper resonance. And this campaign was so successful for us. We saw double-digit lifts based on our brand study in people seeing Franzia as a brand for them. And we actually also increased sales against our core audience of 21 to 34, which is really what we were going for. So the campaign in itself was very successful, and our partnership with Betches, I think, just helped us take it to the next level and really show consumers that Franzia is a brand that gets them. It gets the challenges that they're going through. And we'll go into some of the amazing custom content that we worked with Betches to produce.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the content we created, and then we're going to actually show you guys some of the videos. So Carrie and I, throughout the RFP process, we decided that, we're not going to concentrate on just like a 2-month period, right? We really wanted to make this a longer-term partnership, and with that, we decided to really focus and lean into the custom videos. So you guys see their wonderful spot that they were, distributing in many places, but we really came on as their strategic partner to reach those female millennials through all of those adulting moments. So there was a video around, girls kind of in like a circle setting, kind of, complaining and sharing their adulting moments. There was another video of girls kind of talking about one of them was getting ghosted by a guy. These are all, relatable moments that actually happen. The next one that I am going to show you guys, actually the first one, is more of an infomercial style video. And you guys remember from like the 90s, from the early 2000s, when we were kind of first introduced to Franzia, those infomercials would be on television. So we kind of brought them back again, kind of like the brand is resurging also. And we kind of poked fun at it a little bit. And what Betches likes to do is we like to show like sometimes the more satirical side, the darker side, the funny side. And we know that as we get busy, as we adult, some of these friendships can change and evolve, and some of our friends can change, and they may be harder to kind of deal with sometimes, but at the end of the day, a box of Franzia always helps. So we can play the first video.
Are you a clumsy?
Oh, no. All right, let's try that again.
Are you a clumsy bitch who drops almost everything? Do your friends think you're cheap because you never have enough wine? And do you ruin all of your comfy sweatshirts because you suck at drinking? Then girl, you need Franzia. You're probably still a clumsy bitch, but now you're a fun clumsy bitch. Now you'll have enough wine to find your boring friends interesting and not complete losers. But it doesn't stop there. Get the Little Franz. Perfect for any introvert needing a night in because people are terrible. And it's ideal for when you actually go outside. Go from a wine loser to a wine winner. Winner. You know what I mean. Franzia, you a clumsy bitch.
Love it. It's great. Love the cheese block. That's a good touch. The cheese block is a nice touch.
So that was one of them. The second video I'm going to show you guys, who watches reality television? Okay, it's clearly big amongst millennials. So with this one, we kind of thought about, we at Betches love reality television. We created a franchise called The Bachelor, which is a play on The Bachelor. We found that content performs really well, and we create friendships and friendships in the conversation below through people commenting. They're saying like, oh my God, did you watch last night? I watched this live, or like, we are watching together, that's so you, that's so us. But reality TV is something that really kind of brings friends and community together at Betches. So with that, we created a fun reality TV spot as well.
I'm the CEO and founder of my very own frozen yogurt company, Yogurt. While my father is a very successful lawyer, and my mother, well, you'll take you. For my birthday, they gave me a present of only $5 million. I'm completely self-made. I'm here for one reason, and that is to find love. And if these girls happen to come for me about anything, I will absolutely destroy them. Anyway, I'm here to find love. Did I mention that? It's me, the one from Alabama. Roll Tide. I'm just so happy to talk about being from Alabama. I'm from Alabama. I'm back. And I'm ready to be relevant again. He doesn't know who I really am. The truth is, when I was 16, my grandmother died peacefully in her sleep. How is he supposed to trust me? My grandmother died. I'm so different.
Nice.
Thank you, Chris. Chris is here. He's in that video. Fat Carrie Bradshaw. We couldn't have done those great videos without the team. And I will say that Carrie and the team in San Francisco really leaned into this. One of the first things we said from the jump was, hey, guys, you haven't advertised in 20 years. Like, how comfortable are you going to be here with us? Like, we really want to give you the ideas that we feel will resonate best. And at first, there was like, no swearing, can't do this, can't do that. We're like, well, let us show you. And then we had a few conversations where we actually read the scripts to them on the phone and really brought them to life. So, thank you guys for kind of working with us and leaning in to it and letting us really stay true to our tone of voice, because at the end of the day, that's really what makes the engagement stronger.
That, and they hid it all from the executive team, so it kind of worked out well.
Did not. But I think you make a great point about, like, I think one of the biggest challenges, if anyone here works for a media agency or an ad agency and you've worked on custom content before, there's always this struggle between the content producer and the brand and the agency, where you're trying to get a lot of the branding in to make sure the brand is really prevalent, while the content creators are making sure that they're maintaining a consistent tone of voice for their audience. And I really give Jeff and his team, Colin Cooney, the director of marketing on Franzia, a ton of credit. As Shosh said at the beginning, there were a lot of areas where we were like, do we want to cross that line? Do we not? But I think you guys really leaned in and you trusted Betches and trusted Mekanism that the content ultimately was going to resonate. And we actually reposted these videos on our Franzia handle, and we got like 60% engagement. And for anyone that works in social, you know that's insanely high. So usually you get like 1 to 5% engagement. So clearly, we were able to push the envelope and produce content that really resonated with both Betches and with the Franzia audience.
And we had to trust. I mean, at the end of the day, for the brand folks in the room, you're going to get to that place where you have to make decisions on the brand message and the brand tone. And we trusted Mekanism and we trusted Betches to help us navigate through that on stuff that frankly made us feel pretty uncomfortable initially when there were several conversations. But we trusted in the process, and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah. On that note, we really are that girl that's like in your group text at your brunch table. So sometimes it may be comfortable for others, but that's really how we all speak to each other. And a nod to you guys, working with the Mekanism team was fabulous, because not only was, the media planning and the strategy and the buying, there, also the creative team was there in San Francisco. So we had this like cohesive voice and this cohesive group to really work with throughout the process. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the memes too. Memes are also our bread and butter. We posted some on Betches Main. We also posted on When's Happy Hour, which is our satirical workplace vertical as well. So I'm going to read you one. When I was a kid, I thought being an adult meant attending dinner parties, eating off fine china, and traveling all over the world. But that's not really what adulting is. Like, let's be real. So in the comments section, people shared their thoughts and like, oh my God, I thought this was life too, same, tagging, sharing. And we kind of saw that throughout all the content that we did create. We'll go actually to the next slide to look at what some of those comments were. And this is exactly what the kind of reaction that we wanted. I can't really see too well here. I know there's a slew of them where people are like, oh my God, I told you boxed wine was better. So us, we're getting this tonight, wine night, oh my God, Franzia is back. So that's exactly what we wanted to create. And the proof is really here in the comments section.
I love the comment. I didn't know it was Franzia.
Yes, that's a big thing.
We had a lot of conversations about Franzia or Franzia, so.
Well, because we like to, I think another thing is like we like to sound like we're fancy, so people would be like Franzia. Yeah. Like, no, Franzia. So we had to keep training ourselves. And even when I like wrote my notes, I was like Franzia. So, yeah.
Cool.
This was also, I just wanted to add, this was also such new space for the brand team. I think in a positive way, what we have learned about Franzia on the journey is that we got a lot of passionate consumers. There's a ton of passion for a brand that's really never done a lot of marketing. I mean, 5 years ago, there wasn't a Franzia website. 5 years ago, our company had declared that we're not going to do any social media because folks were, our senior team was scared to put a foot in or a toe in the water with younger consumers. It was kind of just happening on its own. And there was that worry that once we start to talk to younger consumers, because they're already digging the brand, it's going to be like the big corporate guys coming in and we're going to scare them off. And so part of this has been the trust and the messaging on a way to do that. So that's not the takeaway from those consumers.
Exactly. And speaking of the Franzia website, you should all check it out because Halloween is coming up, and there is a printout to how to make a giant Franzia box, which I wore last year, and it is truly an amazing costume.
Just gave away my costume. No.
And so, Carrie, you had mentioned that you guys were posting some of the Betches content on Franzia's Instagram account. Was there an Instagram account for Franzia before you started this, or did you set it up in conjunction with the campaign? How did that work?
There was, but
there was, but so 5 years ago, nothing.
Yep.
Zero conversation. Probably 2 years before Mekanism came in, we started putting a toe in the water and then realized that we needed to dial up, which is why we went to Mekanism.
Okay.
So part of we didn't only make the hero video that we call it, the Franz for Life video. We also have an amazing social team that's based in San Francisco who did some additional photo shoots using influencers, which influencers were incredibly successful for us. I think similarly to how we worked with Betches, if you trust influencers to produce the content that resonates with their audience on their feeds, you're really able to be authentic, and that helped us get over that challenge that Jeff was just talking about with not wanting to be too branded or too corporate. So influencers were great for that, and we have had evergreen content running all year long that has been a combination of amazing UGC content, which Colin and team have collected from people submitting real life videos and photos of them drinking the bag out on a hike, all of those things that we know and love about Franzia. So we put a lot of effort into the social feed, and I think we've seen a lot of really strong results from that.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll definitely get to some of those results before the end, but I want to touch a little bit on some merch, because every good campaign has merch. So let's talk about why merchandise was kind of key to this partnership and why we brought it in here.
Yeah, so actually merchandise was an idea that Mekanism and the Wine Group had after we were seeing how, some of our research was showing how passionate the audience is about Franzia and the consumers are about Franzia as a brand. So our creative team came up with very similar merchandise ideas to what we actually brought to life, but the challenge that we faced was that we didn't have an e-commerce site, and we had very limited distribution. We weren't really sure, besides pushing it out on our own social channels, how we were going to drive people to it. So as we started developing our relationship with Betches and things were going so well, we were like, hey, they have Shop Betches. What if we partner with them and we help to bring this merchandise to life through an existing e-commerce platform? And if you've ever been on Shop Betches, all of the merchandise speaks so much to this millennial adulting audience. It's really fantastic. So again, the designs are very in line with what we had originally concepted, but we really trusted the Betches team to put their own spin on it to make it something that Betches consumers would actually want to buy. So it was just another element of our collaboration that I think made us more successful and got a lot of PR and added value for us.
Yeah, I would say Shop Betches in general is always on the pulse of pop culture, right? So if you have the 50-50 beef, we'll have wine glasses on the site the next day. Game of Thrones, it's what I know things, I drink things, I always switch it. We had those wine glasses the next day. You talk on The Bachelor about windmill and inappropriate behavior that happens around that. We have those wine glasses and t-shirts there. So when they came to us and said, okay, we want to kind of expand this merch side, they did have their ideas, but we worked very closely with our shop team that's here, and we sat and we looked at the material and we helped them change and tweak it and evolve it because it needed to really come from the Betches tone and look like Betches merch that Betches audience and fans would also buy. So with that, I'm going to model this for you guys. This is our Franny pack. It comes with all of these fabulous pins. You know that pins are definitely in. So it comes with 5 pins. I just wanted to show you guys these 3 here. It's also co-branded at the top. We also have this fabulous canvas bag that has a spout. So whether you're at the beach and you're like, I don't care, I'm just gonna be obvious. Or you're hosting the dinner party, you're like, walking around, okay, your glass looks empty, let me help you out. I'm gonna be a good Franz here. And then we also had, pardon me, oh, here we go.
I got you.
There you go. We also have this t-shirt. Wanted to show you guys this one. So how the young millennials are wearing it these days is they sort of roll up the sleeves, they tuck it nicely in some cute jean shorts that you see here with the fanny pack, and it looks fantastic. So.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we promoted it on Shop Betches, on the Instagram, on the website. We also co-promoted it on Betches Maine as well.
Cool.
It's still available.
Yeah, it's still
make sure you
available.
get some.
Go get some. And Jeff, what was your kind of take on the merchandise side of things?
The bottom line is it's helping us to sell more product, and so we.
Always good.
It's also opened up our eyes across other brands for why we're not, because we weren't involved in that, and so it made sense for the brand. It's opened up our eyes to getting our brand message out, and so now it's starting to work. Which I think, you know, when we start to talk about how I evaluate all of this, it's going to get back to, is it building the brand, is it building our business, and it has been.
Great. And so I want to talk a little bit about why the partnership was successful, as well as kind of, you know, some of the key metrics. I know, you know, social was a big thing, and, you know, gaining engagement there. But maybe we can just kind of go down the line, and each person can say why they thought this was so successful and any like key things that stand out.
We've talked a lot about the campaign, meaning the advertising, and then the social, and what we've done with Betches. Missed. You know, as part of this, it was also from a business standpoint to think about younger consumers with Franzia from a product standpoint and a packaging standpoint. So from a packaging standpoint, we revised packaging. We brought a lot more color into the packaging, and made a turn in February to launch new packaging into the marketplace, as well as new products. And so we launched bold blends, which are richer, bolder, flavored wines that speak to younger adults. Tetra, which is the smaller 500 milliliter package, was never something that we were going to consider, because we sell these big 5-liter boxes. And so why would we ever trade our consumer base down from that amount of wine from a business standpoint? And we decided for younger consumers that we needed to, from an awareness standpoint, from a trial standpoint, and giving younger consumers access to packages that were interesting to them, then that was interesting. And so based on packaging and new products and promotional and advertising and the social environment, that was the new campaign. When I take a look at why this is successful, it comes down to one, and by the way, this is still all pretty new, right? We started this in February. Brand health is up. So Mekanism took us through brand health last week, and for someone like me, Franzia scores with our target young adult are up 120%. Now, I think I believe the data. That's a pretty big jump, but it's headed in the right direction. Our business, with price increases over the last year, our business is up 2%. That's in a category that's falling. And so from a business standpoint, something's going on, and it's very positive. And then the last one for us is really our system. We operate through a 3-tier system with distributors. And if distributors are coming back saying double thumbs up, we're happy with the work, then it puts a smile on our face. And so combine all 3 of those, we say it's been super productive.
Great.
And a big bet for us this year was leaning into social so heavily. I mean, when we did the initial research, you can see this audience is very active on social across a lot of platforms. So one of the challenges you face with any CPG brand, or especially in like the wine and liquor category, is you have this network of distributors that you really have to excite also. And they are a very different demographic than this young audience that we're going after. And they need to have something to talk about when they're going into distributors to get them excited about the investment that Franzia was making in the brand. So for all of us, really investing heavily in social was a big bet for that reason. And it really paid off. And I think what was so successful, particularly about this Betches partnership, Shosh and I were talking about this yesterday, we think there was really 4 things that made it successful. The first was the trust that Franzia had in Mekanism and Betches, and the ability to allow us and the Betches talent to really push the needle and make content that resonated. And that is such a challenge, and I think we were very lucky, and it was unique that we were able to overcome that challenge in such an authentic way. The second thing, I think, was the length of the partnership. There is this tendency with media to do these one-and-done partnerships, and instead of just doing one or 2 pieces of content, we contracted Betches for the entire year. So we had 2 flights for Franzia. We had like a flight earlier in the year, and we had a media flight later in the year. So we're able to take the learnings from the content that we produced in the beginning and really apply those to the content that was produced later in the year. And I think that some of these videos that you saw were later in the year and ended up being the most successful because we had a lot of learnings from that. I think another thing was putting paid support behind the content. Both Betches and Franzia were willing to invest additional dollars to amplify the content beyond just their owned channels or the organic feeds. I mean, we know that in an organic feed, you're only hitting about like 1 to 14% of your followers. So by putting paid dollars behind it, we were really able to amplify it. And what was the 4th one?
I think probably all you guys being under one roof.
Oh yeah, us
is really
all
helpful.
being, yeah, I think the amount of collaboration, while was very time consuming, I think the open lines of communication that we had with Betches, with Franzia, and having creative and media under the same roof at MEC really helped us to push the envelope and get to a place that everyone felt really good about it. So I would say, like, for me, those were the 4 things that really helped us to win.
Yeah, and I would say, while yes, it was time consuming, the team over at Betches was really helpful. We were really patient, but also it was great for us because this was a brand that also really made sense for us. This was a brand that we actually grew up with, so we could insert them in an organic way where we're not, annoying our audience. Oh, you're doing advertising. They're used to it. They know it. But the thing that makes it special and unique is we really kind of worked with Franzia to, oh, this is an ad, but like I'm still with it because that's so me and that's so us. So, we did work with them throughout the process it got better and better with every single video. And the reality is sometimes it is challenging in the beginning because you kind of have to say, trust us. And they're like, okay, how much? I'm like, you have to fully trust us. So yeah.
Perfect. So we have about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to the audience now. Hopefully you guys had a chance to submit some questions to Slido. Could we switch on over to the questions?
Oh, I think it's funny that we're drinking boxed water.
We were just talking about that.
It's a huge business opportunity. I don't know why we're not in it.
All right, so let's start with the first one. As the agency, how did you decide times when you work with a media platform versus individual influencers?
I'm going to assume that's for me. That is a really great question. I think a lot of times it comes down to your strategy and your budget. So working with a partner that is as premium as Betches, obviously there is a more hefty price tag that comes along with that because of the clout and the brand affiliation that they bring to your branding. I think we did both for Franzia. I think influencers are a really great cost-efficient way to build out social content. But for us, the decision, I think, to work with Betches and not just influencers was because we wanted to have a larger, longer-term partnership. And we decide, and I have seen across all clients that I work with, it's always more effective to take a larger portion of your budget and invest it in one partner to really do something amazing versus trying to pepper it across a lot of different partners to just try and cover a lot of ground. And I've seen this time and time again. So I think it depends on your goal and your budget ultimately. And for this campaign, for what we were trying to do, both partners and influencers made sense. I would say if you had a limited budget, that influencers are a great way to build out your social content and also to achieve a similar goal of showing how a brand can have relevance to a passionate influencer base.
Next question, did you identify any specific call to action format and or language that leads from the content to actual purchase? Anyone?
Trying to think. I think it was definitely more awareness based. We did have some, call to actions to, including Franzia's handle and also obviously for the shop piece where you could swipe up and buy. But it was, definitely more of an awareness platform because you can go to most distributors and find and purchase Franzia. It was really kind of the goal and the mission was to kind of bring them back into culture in a fun and organic way.
Yeah, I don't think we really had a strategy around a call to action. It was more that we wanted the content to resonate and it to be shared. And
I'd add to be consistent in the retail marketplace with point of sale. So Franzia is sold in retail. It's at stores. We're not selling a lot of Franzia and on-premise through restaurants. And so for us, the call to action is point of sale and having it in retail. And the good thing about Franzia, I mean, it's such a big piece of business with retail, and it commands such a big presence on the shelf. We typically don't get a lot of displays. And so historically, we haven't gotten a lot of point of sale because it's all done off the shelf. And I think the difference, both from a distributor and a retail standpoint, is we started to see displays where you can put point of sale up that is consistent with the message of this overall campaign, and hopefully that continues.
I would add to that, we also worked with the analytics team to think about, obviously, like happy hours may happen more so on, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, weekend. So there was always sort of that, hey, like weekend's coming or it's happy hour, go get your Franzia. So we definitely connected those dots and focused on, when they would perform better so that there is that natural call to action with what's happening up top and the conversation below. And we saw it in the comments.
Great. And then for you, Shoshannah, how does Betches choose which brands to partner with and not overwhelm their audience with partnerships?
That is a great question. We actually talk about this a lot. We've actually had to say no to some brands, right? So people have started to notice us. And going back to my earlier point and why it works so well with Franzia is we don't want to upset our audience. We don't want to annoy them with too many ads. So we have to be able to storytell. We've had anyone from Unilever and Xfinity, and they've come to us, and Amazon, and we were able to help them, right? So it also comes back to that trust where, they come knocking and they say they want to lean in, but sometimes they're not fully comfortable. And then we as a brand, we have to push back. Like we say no, we said no throughout part of the process. And we really, we want to deliver a result that garners a high engagement. So there have been cases where we've passed on brands, but we are more thoughtful of it, and we do seek out brands that we know. When we start to see we use our office, right? People in the Slack channel, whatever they're talking about, whatever they're wearing, we're like, wow, that's a brand that would really make sense for us. And that's also where a lot of those conversations start. So we are selective.
And I think going to this other question about dealing with branded content and convincing brands, something that Shosh and I talked so much about was it was such a natural fit. Betches was just naturally a content platform that fit with our message and with Franzia as a brand. So there wasn't any shoehorning that had to happen to try and make it work. While there was still risks that we had to be willing to take, it was a much smaller battle that we had to fight because it already just fit so organically with what we were trying to say.
Combined with, we had to loosen up. and I'm not kidding when I suggest that we don't take any of this to the executive team.
And I feel like we touched on this a little bit, but any increase that you saw on social channels in terms of followers, mainly that, I'm assuming that was probably Instagram.
So we definitely did. And there wasn't a lot of effort that was going, or there wasn't a big focus on the Wine Group's end of cultivating the social channel. So naturally, as we started to push out more content, we saw the follower numbers increase. I would encourage people in media not to look at follower count and think that it's driving business for your brand. It's really a vanity metric. It's a nice to have. What you want to make sure is that your social is actually driving business results for you, whether that be traffic to your site if you're an e-commerce site or actual sale. I think which goes into this. I saw another question about sale. Did we actually see purchase intent? And yes, we, I don't know, do you want to take that about purchase? Did we see purchase intent increase?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it. So purchase intent, at least in terms of research, is coming in at plus 120%, which is a big number, by the way, relative to testing. Where we validate that as what's going on in the retail environment. We measure all of our in-retail sales through AC Nielsen, and Nielsen's are up plus 2% in an environment that's down like 8%. And so we see that. That's at the same time we took a price increase. Typically when you take a price increase, bam, your business comes down a bit. And so both of those measures have made us feel super comfortable, in addition to online and what we're seeing with Facebook and Instagram, et cetera, that the numbers are up. So we couldn't be happier.
Great. And we have just about a minute left, so we'll do like a quick rapid fire. Biggest hurdle that you saw in this process?
Everything that these guys didn't see. We're a private management-owned company without a problem getting our senior team to invest millions of dollars in a brand when we could be spending that on other new brands in the premium wine space was probably 10 meetings. And now everyone's got a smile on their face. But it was the biggest hurdle, was just to get this off and running before we got to these guys.
Great. Anyone else? All right, well, with that, we'll wrap it up. I want to give a quick thank you again to Shoshannah, Carrie, and Jeff for their time, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, and thank you so much for being here.